So, welcome to another edition of Coaching Minute with Brianne Ligori and friends, where certified coaches help leaders to elevate their coaching skills so they're better able to lead in today's modern workforce. Today's guest is Ann DeLuca. Ann is a certified coach who specializes in the area of confidence. She is a confidence coach and also leads confidence workshops in organizations. Ann is also a three-time author, recently adding the confidence recipe to her list of published books in 2024. Welcome, Ann. I'm so excited for our chat today.
I am super excited. I love talking anything coaching, so this is going to be fun.
Absolutely. And what did we meet? Like a year and a half ago through our work at WLP?
I'm thinking it's probably longer than I realize. Yeah. It seems like in some ways it seems longer, but it hasn't been that long really.
I know I've been learning so much from you and your wisdom around confidence. So really excited to explore a little bit more around coaching and what that looks like for you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So I know you do a lot of work with leaders and organizations, helping them to become stronger leaders. And of course, coaching is one of those really important tools that leaders can use with their teams. So from your perspective, why do you feel that is one of the most important tools they can use?
Oh my gosh. I hate to say this, but it lets you be a little more lazy in the best of ways, because your team is closer to the ground. And so when you ask questions, which is coach-like, rather than telling all the time, you're going to get wisdom from your team. You're going to move them from asking you all the time to more problem-solving behavior. And they're a resource for you rather than you always trying to tell them what to do, which is exhausting because you don't have all the answers. As a leader, you get further and further removed, and your people they're there to help you and you empower them. When you have a more coach-like approach, it's to your benefit.
Yes. I love that piece on it lets you be a little more lazy, because I feel like leaders right? There's so much on the shoulders of us as leaders to know the answers, to have the expertise and all of this. But actually, that's not really necessarily leadership. That's actually stepping in with your subject matter expertise. But really, as leaders, we're supposed to be helping others to develop theirs and really shine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was the biggest mistake when I was first leading a team, was thinking I had to have it all figured out. And so quickly realized, oh my goodness, the resource, the pot of gold that was right there in front of me that I wasn't dipping into, and how people appreciate, actually, that's the other side of it, the empowerment, but people appreciate being looked at as the expert. And usually they are, right? We're not the expert in everything. It's impossible.
It's so true. And I think about Michael Beignet-Stanier's book, The Advice Trap. He actually talks about that it actually takes away trust when we're showing up with our answers all of the time. It's actually creating people to maybe not believe in themselves or not feel that empowerment that you talked about, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. So you've led teams for many years when you were in the corporate world, and you of course probably implemented more coaching in the work that you did. But when we're doing that as leaders, implementing more coaching, sometimes we can come up across barriers that kind of get in our way of implementing that. So what did you do when you came across barriers implementing more coaching, and how did you kind of overcome them?
Oh man, I think the biggest barrier was stopping myself from stifling that urge to advise and tell what to do. And it took a while to the point where sometimes I'd start, then I'd stop and go, hang on a second, because my team knew I was doing coach training. And I would stop and take a breath. And usually the best question that came out would be, what do you think about this? Or what would you do in this situation? And for them as well, it was like, oh, I'm used to coming in and Ann's just going to tell me what I need to do, and off I go. And it really turned the tables. But also I could see the growth in my team as they were looked to as the expert, not me. And it was more a collaborative thing than, Ann knows everything, which is completely impossible. We're a team, and I can contribute to this team.
It's almost like I sort of see it as side by side rather than I'm the leader and I'm up here and I know everything and I'm going to impart that on you versus I'm here, right? Side by side with you. I'm an equal member of the team. I might hold a different role. That's okay. It really shifts things.
So much, so much. Like, it was incredible to see how people lit up when they were asked what they thought versus what I thought. And their answers were way better than mine would ever have been. Because you can't be an expert in what every single person in your department, every role, that what they do. You just can't. It's impossible. So yeah, it was a challenging transition to basically button my lip and ask questions, which is what we do as coaches. But well worth it. Well worth it.
Yes, it takes some time. It is actually the number one thing we see leaders struggle with when we're doing our coach certification and our leadership training programs, like across the globe, is this advice thing. And there's an element of trust where sometimes leaders aren't trusting necessarily what that person is going to come up with. They're like, what if they come up with something totally out there? So what advice do you have for leaders that are really struggling with that urge to kind of hold back on really directing people?
So my coach training, they use this saying, and I loved it. All people are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. Basically, they have everything they need inside them. Yep, they need some goalposts and guidance within the scope of work sometimes, for sure. But when we give advice, we're projecting ourselves on them. We're projecting our ideas on them, and we're eliminating the opportunity for them to figure things out. And yeah, maybe they make a mistake. That's how you grow. And most mistakes are not life-threatening. Let's face it. I think sometimes we take things way too seriously. We're not, unless you are, but most of us aren't in jobs where we're saving lives. So they can be rectified. But the creative ideas that come out of someone, when you allow them to come up with their own solutions, it's unbelievable. And that ability to stop yourself and be present rather than thinking that you have to figure it out. It's a skill, but again, it trickles on back to when your person comes and asks you a question, letting them come to their own conclusions. Yeah, you're going to let them know, oh, maybe that's off track, or I like that and we can do this, but letting them start the solution rather than you is, it's amazing.
Yes. I remember a leader I had once in the pharmaceutical industry. She always said, like, I had ideas and it was so hard to hold back. She said, but when you came up with it, it was like an out of the park home run because you were vested in that idea.
Yes, there's that too. When someone comes up with the idea, and maybe it is one you already had, but they'll own it, right? And the pride of ownership and implementing something that was your idea, that's amazing. Like, that's so helpful. Because they may come up with it, and that's a really good point, Bree, is they may come up with the same idea you had, but coming from themselves rather than being told is priceless. Yes.
And just thinking as you're talking here too, Anne, about confidence and the connection to confidence here, I'd be curious to hear your perspective on how confidence connects to coaching here.
As a coach or as being coached?
As being coached.
Yeah. I think, again, when you are approaching someone as the expert because they are the expert of themselves, and you're encouraging them and pulling things out of them and helping them connect to the strengths that they have, that just automatically is going to elevate their confidence. Who doesn't feel confident when someone else asks for their input? I think it's basic, right? It's like, oh, my leader trusts me, trusts that I have the knowledge to answer this. That's confidence building right there.
Yes. Yeah, there's an underlying thread of trust. It kind of runs through everything coaching.
I think it's huge, right? I think, to be trusted automatically elevates somebody because that's a huge step. In any relationship, inside work, outside work, the element of trust just bumps it up that bit more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if we're to think about actually confidence on the coaching side, when people are coaching, leaders are coaching, as they build their coaching skills, of course, they learn how to ask powerful questions, and they can often come up with one really good opener question that they're ready to ask, and they're listening to the person and they're present, everything's going great. But sometimes what we notice is leaders get stuck with that follow-up question. It's like, oh, like, what do I ask next? So I'm curious, what words of wisdom do you have for leaders that are like, where do I go from here?
You know, I just had this little epiphany before we got on the call. When we make it about ourselves, so what question do I ask next? We lose track of what's going on in front of us. And that I don't know about you, but I remember when I was first coaching, and the whole time, oh, what am I gonna, you know, trying to think what I'm gonna ask next. When I stopped making it about me and asking the smart question and being really super present with that person, the questions came organically. Because if you're listening and having a conversation, you're gonna think of something organically. The question that I like, and it was so funny, I already thought is, you already brought up Michael Bungay-Stainer, who I've attended many of his workshops. The what else? What else is simple, because if someone's talking, often there's another nugget. And sometimes, I mean, it seems silly, but I've asked it 3-4 times, and in my head I'm going, am I going to ask this again? You ask it again, and it's like bringing out a towel. People will continue to go, oh, this, oh, and this. And then finally they'll stop and go, yeah, that's it. Like that's it. But it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be really simple. But I think that the starting point always is, it's more important about the person across from you than asking the smart question. If you're listening, it's going to happen organically. And that's about trusting yourself, right? It's just trusting the process of coaching, that it's going to ebb and flow, and there's no perfection in there. It's trusting all of that, which is hard at first, of course.
Oh my gosh. So hard. It really can be, to just almost set all of those things aside and just fully be there in that moment, and almost moving to a more intuitive place with your coaching, right? In terms of like what feels right as the next question, rather than what's on my list.
Yes.
As the next question.
Oh my gosh. And Brie, the only time I run into trouble, and it rarely happens anymore, because I've learned that as soon as I get in that room, whether it's Zoom or whatever, it's completely focused on the person in front of me. And if I stay with that, it always goes the direction it's supposed to go. I trust that intuitive hit, and I don't question anymore. It's like I just, boom, this is a question that feels right. And if it's not it, what's the worst that can happen? Someone says, nope, that's not it. It's this. So it's a win-win. You get it either way. It's not about being right as a coach. It's about being curious and leading the conversation with your curiosity.
Yes. I feel like the underlying thread of everything we're talking about today is that trust in self, trust in that person.
Yes.
That's
how I feel. And it's funny you say it, because I'm hearing it more and more as I speak. And I guess that is the foundation for me, for sure. I just didn't realize how much it was until we're having this conversation. But absolutely, trusting them, trusting you, and that container that you create there is where the magic can happen.
Yes, 100%. Thank you so much, Ann, for all your wisdom today. Do not forget to check out Ann's book, The Confidence Recipe. It is truly amazing. I often have it by my side during coaching sessions. If I'm working on anything around confidence, I pop it open and I think, Ann's right here with me. So check it out. We really are grateful for you, Ann.
Thank you, Brie, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be part of WLP with you and just have you in my circle. So thank you.
Thank you so much.